Look, we have a fantastic team already delivering for New Zealand, and the conversations we've had as a list ranking committee with the party has been absolutely fantastic, and I think we've got an outstanding team to take to the election, which comprises of very experienced ministers, some incredibly hard-working MPs, and also some exciting new talent that can bring new capabilities to our team as well. So I think we've got the balance right, and it's all about making sure we've got the team that can actually take New Zealand forward, build out the future that we need to do, and get the business done for New Zealanders. But with that, let's take some questions on the list ranking, and we'll go forward from there. Yeah, look, I mean, we've got some incredible talent. I mean, if you think about people like Katie Milne on West Coast Tasman, think about Emma Chatterton coming through and Papakura, think about people like Tracy Summerfield down in Wigram as well. We think incredibly highly of people like Dale Stevens, who's been in our party for a long period of time. Coupled with a lot of MPs that have been part of the intake of 2023 that are have built their experience in Parliament over the last 3 years and will offer us a lot going forward with our team as well. So I think we've got the bench strength right. I think we've got the blend right, building on what we were able to do as we had a big influx in 2023 and augmenting that really well.
How are you feeling about it? Are you expecting?
Sorry?
How many electorates are you expecting national to? How is that factored into?
Well, that's why we have a campaign now to November 7th, because it's all about making sure, as I've been saying, that we get as many party votes across every electorate possible, because that's ultimately what shapes the government. And so it's a full court press from here right to November 7th to make the case to New Zealanders that we have the team that can actually grow the economy, make life more affordable, and most importantly, stop Labour's tax grab.
How are you feeling about the gender split going on here? Like if you take the top 20, for example, 6 are women. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, look, I think it's basically the similar levels to what we have today. When I look at, say, the top 40, I think it's about 60-40. But what's quite exciting is outside that top 40, you do have people like Emma, you do have people like Katie, you do have people like Tracy Summerfield. You've also got people like Angie Nicholas, who ran really close last time, sitting in Henderson. You've got people like Candice Kinzer as well, who's sitting in Auckland Central. So we actually think we've got women in winnable seats. Of course, we think there's more work to do. It's about how do we encourage women to actually enter public service, but also to step up and stand in those big seats as well, in those winnable seats. And we've been encouraged by what we've seen in some cases, but there's more to do. And that's the work, frankly, that Sylvia deserves tremendous credit with, which is the Hilda Ross Foundation and the work that we've been doing, particularly to try and bring women candidates into the party and to encourage them to stand. There's more to do, but we've made some good progress.
Can I ask you specifically about that, Nicola? Because you've talked in the past about trying to get more women candidates to come through. You struggled when there was the by-election a few years back in Simon Bridges' seat, I think it was. Are you happy with where the party is at with both getting the woman vote but also in terms of candidates? And do you think it's improved from where you were, say, 3 years ago?
Well, I've always said that we don't just want to rely on the list to bring new women into Parliament, that it's important we have women running in winnable seats. And on that score, I think what you're seeing with our candidate lineup at this election is really strong. Katie Milne, really winnable seat with West Coast Tasman. I think of Angie Nicholas in Henderson, which she pushed very close last time. Emma Chatterton in Papakura, which has historically been a strong National Party seat. Candice Kinzer in Auckland Central, again, very winnable seat. And as the Prime Minister says, those are women that would bring a great breadth of experience to our team, and so that's positive to see. I'm always on the side of saying I'd like to see more women putting themselves forward to run for National, and we'll continue to encourage them to do so.
If the emphasis, or one of the things you're proud of in this list, is the fact that you brought some women through, but also that there's a strong ethnic presence in it, why has Melissa Lee been moved from number 13 down to around about 30?
Yeah, well, look, I think we're actually speaking to a whole range of Kiwi communities across New Zealand. I mean, I think you're seeing, obviously Nancy Liu, someone we think is an incredibly hard-working MP. She's got a great connection to the Chinese, Kiwi community here in New Zealand. Of course, that's a big driver of our party vote as well. But Melissa Lee's been incredible. I mean, she's incredibly engaged with her community, but also across, the whole of New Zealand. But also, you're seeing also good representations from the Kiwi Indian community, as well, and that's important. And we've had a lot of, actually over the last 3 years, to be honest, if you look at the number, I think we've got 8 or so Kiwi Indian candidates, that have actually come in and actually wanted to participate in the party and actually stand and get selected. So, I think, I think we've got a pretty representative group of folk that can talk to the different communities within the country.
Just with those Kiwi Indian candidates, though, I think most of them are in seats held by the Labour, or in the case of Tamaki, the ACT Party. Mahesh is probably the only one who would be high enough on the list to stand a chance of getting in. How are you going to translate that, the candidates there to actual MPs in Parliament? Because it's been an issue, right? You haven't had that Indian representation.
Yeah, look, I think Mahesh will certainly win in Tamaki. That's I'm very confident about that. I think when you look at people like Ancat and Palmerston North, who I was with yesterday, I think he's done an exceptionally good job over the last 3 years. He ran in 2020, ran close. He got the party vote win there, Palmerston North. He's obviously stayed very connected to the community, very engaged, very passionate about Palmerston North, and I think he's got a good chance there as well. So we've got but it's just great to see the involvement from where I think I came in 2020. Only 33 MPs, I think 11 list MPs, 11 constituent MPs, and 22 list MPs, and we were not as diverse as we needed to be, or as representative as we wanted to be. And I think yes, there's more to do always, but I think we've made some very good progress from 2020.
Can you just give us a bit of insight into how you got to some of these numbers? Like, why is Jerry Brownlee at 9? How did you get to number 9 for Jerry Brownlee?
Well, it's just recognising he's one of our great kamatuas in our party. I mean, like he's been in Parliament now for 30 years. We really value Jerry. We think very highly of him, and that's why we have him where we have him.
Is it at random? Like, do you just choose 9 or 8, or is there an actual process?
No. I mean, the way we run it in the National Party is that it's the party and the parliamentary wings form the National Party, and we take very seriously actually having a list ranking committee. It's one of the highest office holders positions you can have in our party. We had about 33 representatives from all the 5 different regions across the party. Those are conversations that we have here in this room this morning, and I think it's just a measure of respect. Yes, I mean, we've essentially got our front bench, and then we've introduced Jerry. We've got ministers, other ministers that are in cabinet then, obviously Nancy, and then ministers outside of cabinet. And so, that's sort of the thinking about sort of have we got the experienced ministers we need. Then the question is, we've got MPs, and we let that largely sit with a lot of the party membership, as with the candidate rankings as well. So, it was a very constructive process. I think Sylvia, you did an excellent job chairing the meeting. We got through it very well, and it's excellent because the regions get to advocate and argue hard for their people, and then we come together as the 5 regions and work out a final list.
Has Jerry committed?
Sorry,
The promise of the last reshuffle we had was like about the lack of Māori in representation. You now no longer have any Māori in your top 10. Can you tell us?
Yeah, look, we have two Māori, I think, in our top 20, but I'm proud of the fact that we've got people like Dale Stevens, that we think very highly of, as I said, highly ranked. We've got people like Coral Rokawa, who's coming in, obviously running on a Māori seat, but we've also got incredible. We brought a lot of talent in 23 as well. Think about Dana Kirkpatrick, James Meagher, Dan Bedwar, and others as well. And obviously we've got an outstanding minister in Tama Potaka who we just rate so highly and think so highly of. So, I think we've done a better job from where I founded the party in 2020 to where we sit today, and I'm pretty proud of that progress. And sorry, and in respect to Pacifica, when we look at someone like Angie Nicholas, who we knew ran really close last time, I think it was 26 votes or something like that maybe. She's someone who represents, I think, a young professional Pacifica, where actually there is really good support for the National Party, and I think someone like her is a great representative for us and our values out into that community. But we have amazing people like Rosemary Burke sitting in Mangere, who's just incredible as well, and Agnes Lohene, many of you will know as well. So I think we've got 3 very strong Pacifica women who can help us as well.
Has Jerry committed to doing 3 years as Speaker if you return to government after the election?
Look, I mean, we haven't had that conversation. I mean, I just.
Is the intention that he comes?
No, we haven't. We generally haven't had those conversations. But I just think he's just someone we respect tremendously in our National Party. I think I've spoken about it over the course of the last year. I've been in Christchurch a lot. I think Jerry deserves tremendous credit. I think the people of Christchurch's history past will judge him very, very well for his investments in that city and what he did post-earthquake.
So is there a world where he's actually a minister if you're back in government next year?
Again, all hypothetical, and this is not a ministerial ranking exercise, this is a party list exercise to make sure that we've got the team that we can draw talent from to lead the government and to provide the government we want to provide.
In terms of what your government in the House looks like next term, will you seek confirmation from Jerry Brownlee as to...
I would love Jerry to continue, obviously, as Speaker.
Will you seek confirmation from him that he will do that for 3 years if that was indeed...
Yeah, look, I mean, but Jerry's a fantastic part of our team. He's been a great speaker. We really value him, we rate him, and we're very comfortable with him continuing on.
You asked him a question.
What's that? Sorry,
Whether he will stay, if you guys get into government, will he be speaker for 3 years?
I haven't asked him that question, but I know he would roll on. He would want to carry on in that role. He's done a great job with it.
Sylvia, is there a possibility that you could actually be too successful in the sense that you could win more electorate seats and thus leave yourself with no list positions?
Oh, it's hypothetical, Richard. We'll be out there fighting very hard to win a very good party vote. And
Does the National Party board have confidence in the job that Christopher Luxon is doing as leader?
absolutely.
When did MP or candidates find out about their list rankings? This morning, Melissa Lee told us she was hoping to be a minister next year, but that seems unlikely.
No, so what happens at our process is that Sylvia chairs the meeting, and we now have informed people since the meeting broke an hour or two ago, and then we come straight to you because we don't want any leaks or conjecture that sort of this is really quite serious stuff for many of our people, and we want to make sure that they understand. So our regional heads talk to the relevant MPs in their
Were
group.
you worried
Do you
there
not
were
trust your
going
MPs
to
not
be
to
leaked?
No, it's just our normal process, Joe. You might remember we do these committee rankings, and we have ad nauseum forever in the past made sure we come to you as quickly as possible so the media is fully informed, and likewise in the intervening period we contact our relevant MPs.
Recently, the National Party has ranked a sitting speaker at number 3 on the list. Was there any thought about doing that?
I think last time we ranked Jerry at number 14. I think he's at number 9. I think
sitting, like when you've been in government going to an election with a sitting speaker, the sitting speaker's been at number
Yeah, look, I mean, we obviously have a gross list. We obviously have a net effective list as well in terms of how you might think about where things might shake down. But, for us, there's no doubt about it, we've ranked Jerry Brownlee very highly because we value him tremendously.
Just
Did you
on
consider
the flip of...
ranking him higher, especially considering his list owner?
Well, no, we've come to our decision as a party, and we're very comfortable with where we've got to.
Just
Have you
on the
spoken
flip
to
of
Melissa Lee?
Richard's...
Sorry?
Have you spoken to Melissa Lee?
Personally, myself,
Yes.
I spoke to her on Thursday sometime, but not about this. But just I talked
So
to
you
her.
haven't spoken to her about the-
But I talked to my MPs about a lot of things.
Because effectively their political career is over, you would have to say.
Well,
She could win Mount
I just
Albert.
say to you think about Mount Albert. Who have we got running there, and how would that look? You've got the Green candidate, you've got a top candidate, you've got a Labor candidate, and you've got Melissa Lee, who's well understood and well known in that electorate from 2008. And so we are backing Melissa Lee to win that seat.
Prime Minister, it's a lot been talking about new candidates and some of the ones that you've got sitting in the 20s, but on current polling, National stands to lose between about 10 to 12 MPs. Are you not worried that you could be losing at the present time about a quarter of your caucus?
Well, I don't comment on polling, as you know, but there's so many of them saying lots of different things. But what I'm focused on is making sure in the next 90 or so days we make the case very strongly to the New Zealand people that you've got a pretty simple choice. It's either spend more, tax more, borrow more, or it's actually a sensible economic plan. It's about growing the economy, making life more affordable and stopping Labor's tax grabs. That's the choice that New Zealand is going to be faced with. And so, for many New Zealanders, they're starting to key into the fact that the campaign's about to kick off, and we're going to make that case incredibly strongly, and that's what I've been articulating. It's all about the party vote everywhere. We want as many party votes as we possibly can get from red seats, from blue seats, from battleground seats, to make sure that we get the biggest possible party vote we can to shape that government.
You are right that the polls sort of, do show different things, but none of them put National remotely close to 38% where you were on election night in 2023. So what would be your message to some members of the caucus that will be worried about losing their jobs?
Well, we are very focused and united as a caucus, and we are ruthlessly focused on making sure we do the very best we can to maximise every party vote on November the 7th. The campaigns are just about to kick off and start, and I've got every confidence we're going to do very well.
Melissa, you were our meeting chairs last week and put through the ringer with a lot of the questions. Do you feel like this list reflects the concerns in which Māori want to see addressed?
Well, what I saw in that room was the high regard in which Tama Pōtaka is held. He has been an incredible ambassador for our party in Te Ao Māori and has achieved a lot as a minister and has been very influential in terms of the agendas of other ministers in our cabinet. What you see is that we also have a caucus with other strong Māori representation, whether that's Dan Bidwar, David McLeod, Dana Kirkpatrick, and I'm really pleased to see Dale Stevens coming through. He's someone who has a presence in Te Ao Māori, who has been a faithful member of the National Party for many, many years. So we'll be working hard for every party vote so we can bring him to the team.
But not quite enough for him to make top 10 though?
Well, look, as the Prime Minister has said, this list reflects a deliberation that happens through the party process and reflects something that we're all very happy with and confident in.
Prime Minister, how would you summarise your performance in the past week?
Sorry, in the past week? Well, look, I mean, I'm focused on making sure we get this economy growing. That's what I'm ruthlessly focused on. I appreciate you may be focused on other things, but you know, I've addressed some of the issues that arose through the week, but we're actually moving forward.
So there's been a reasonable amount of commentary about how the week has gone. Do you think it's fair, or do you think you've had a great week of life?
As I often say to you, I think, you know, a politician complaining about the media press he gets is a bit like a farmer complaining about the weather. So, you know, you are free to do your job as the fourth estate. You've got an important role to play in the democracy to hold New Zealanders to account, to hold politicians like me to account. But, you know, you've also got some pretty big questions out there, I think, you need to answer to, which is like, where is Labor policy? What is going to happen with this tax grab that's going on? When is that going to get interrogated and questioned and pushed around? And when are they have to confront and explain? Because I have to be honest, if I was an opposition coming into an election with as little policy as they are, with as little thought through, with as little interrogation, you would have crucified me at that point in time. And I think that's the thing I would ask you guys to think about and
There is
judge.
also an opportunity for reflection, though, and I'm just asking, but asking how you'd summarise your performance this week. I'm asking you to reflect on how you think it went and whether you think any of the criticism has been justified, or do you think it has been a successful week?
Well, look, I just think it's been it's a week in politics for me, and so I'm used to. I have some good weeks and some challenging weeks. I admitted at the beginning of the week, particularly with my comments in the Rotorua Chamber of Commerce, that was the key thing. That a lot of people got what I was saying, but some people didn't get what I was saying. And as I said at the time, and I've said subsequently, you know, it was right for me to say I didn't want to cause any offence to people or have people feel badly about what I had said, and that's why I apologised very quickly about that. I personally think, as a leader, as I felt all my career, that it's okay for leaders to say, I got that wrong, I could have done better, I could have expressed that better, and say so. I think that's actually what good leadership is actually about.
Is there anything else you want to say that you perhaps got?
Sorry?
Is there anything else that happened this week other than the Rotorua situation
Well,
that you think maybe you could have done better or different?
No, I think it was, you know, we've had a week, and as I said, the key thing for me was, you know, I admitted up front that I could have done better with respect to my comments on Rotorua. That's not what I wanted people to take away from those comments. Could have expressed myself better. A large number of people understood what I was saying, which is we want to empower and partner and work with business as a government, and we've been doing that, and you've seen us model that out. But now we're focused on actually making sure we make the case to the New Zealand people, and that's why this list ranking is so important, because now we go to the election on November the 7th with the talent, with the team that we need to take the country forward, and that's the choice New Zealanders are going to have to make.
A number of your MPs speaking on your comments around MMP referendum have said that they were musings or views, or I think Mark Mitchell said it's not policy, it's not relevant to this election. Can you clarify whether they are correct in that? And secondly, have you gone around your caucus, your MPs, to say, no, this is in fact policy that we are taking?
Okay, look, with respect to the MMP comments, I'd just say to you, like, I come off Talkback Radio, and then I've got MPs in the House going across the tiles dealing with you folk, and many of them wouldn't have heard what I actually said. But the bottom line is that the National Party's had a position for a long time. You know, it went to the last election, it came up in the last election actually. I don't think we had an explicit policy about it. It was one of the things that we formed a judgment of during the campaign, that we do support actually going at some point into a referendum on a 4-year term. We actually had it in our coalition agreements, if you remember, this last term, but we decided our priority was our economic priority, as we will continue to prioritise. And so simply, you know, we're just saying, look, when we do that, we'll go off and actually check in with New Zealanders and make sure they're comfortable with MMP.
So will you be prepared to put the proposal for the referendum to allow the party to develop a position on that? The ordinary rank and file National Party member, will they get a say in that?
We have a policy process, Richard, but the leader of the party made a call. I'm 100% fine with that. We've discussed it with board.
Yeah.
And that's where it
And I'll just say to you guys, look, I mean, go back and, you know, I'm the leader of the National Party. There will be time, you know, like I think the 4-year debate came up actually in the middle of a debate last campaign. I'm asked to form a judgment on things. I want to be as definitive and clear as I possibly can. And so it's my prerogative as the party leader to be able to make those decisions in that moment. And what I decided to do in that call was to say, yep, if we're going to go out for a 4-year term, ultimately, it makes sense to actually check in with New Zealanders, as has happened in the past, whether they're still comfortable with the MMP. That is our position as a party now, and we will have a full justice set of policies. A lot of it will focus on law and order, but it'll also address the constitutional issues. That's still to be released before the election. Last question.
A number of MPs are saying the confidence vote on you in April was by a vote of 27 to 22. Is that your understanding of how?
I just know I have the support of my caucus, and with that, guys, I just say to you, I have the support of my caucus. I'm very confident in leadership. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
On the list, can I just say, I omitted Tracy Summerfield and Wigram. She can win that seat, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh, she will. She'll do
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks, team. Have a good day. See ya.
Jam. Plus I'm hella tight with the little brute, and I can even sit around and laugh with the old man. And I don't know why, but I feel so high. Sit and watch the telly with them like Roseanne. Anyway, I was sipping